The church in Beverly Hills was overflowing with whispers before the music even began. Gold chandeliers glittered above, their light falling across a sea of elegant gowns and sharp tuxedos. The Keating family had spared no expense. Their only daughter, Layla, was about to marry. The crowd hushed as the doors creaked open. Layla Keating appeared, shimmering in a silk gown that clung to her like it was spun from moonlight. She looked radiant, but her smile was forced, trembling at the edges. Each step she took down the aisle echoed like a drumbeat, and though the guests leaned in to admire her, a ripple of confusion ran through the pews. Because standing at the altar, waiting for her, was Asher Adams. Gasps rose, heads turned, some even whispered his name out loud in disbelief. I thought she was marrying Spencer James. What happened to Jordan? Didn't Jordan and Asher used to be best friends? Jordan Baker sat in the front row, shoulders stiff, hands clasped tightly in his lap. His jaw flexed as if he were chewing stone, his expression unreadable. But his eyes, dark, piercing, never left Layla. They weren't filled with heartbreak anymore. They burned with something colder, something dangerous. Layla's steps faltered when her gaze brushed against his, but she quickly straightened. Her chin lifted with defiance as she reached the altar, slipping her hand into Asher's. Asher smiled nervously, pretending not to notice the judgment radiating from every direction. The pastor cleared his throat, trying to calm the restless murmurs. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. But before he could finish, the heavy wooden doors of the church slammed open with a thunderous crack. Everyone twisted around. There, in the doorway, stood Harold Adams, Asher's father. His face was red with fury, his tie pulled loose, his voice booming across the sacred hall. "This marriage cannot happen," he bellowed, his eyes fixed on Layla with seething contempt. "Not after what you've done, Layla." The crowd erupted in chaos, shouts, gasps, phones pulled out to record the scandal already unfolding. Layla froze, her fingers tightening around Asher's hand, but her eyes darted to Jordan instinctively. Jordan didn't move, didn't blink. He just sat there, calm as stone, with the faintest hint of a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Cliffhanger. The organ music screeches to a halt as silence falls again. Layla's breath catches, her lips parting in shock. What secret could Harold Adams possibly know? The church was no longer a sanctuary, it was a battlefield. Guests leaned forward in their pews, whispering furiously as Harold Adams strode down the aisle, his fingers stabbing toward Layla like a weapon. "You think you can stand up here, in front of God, and pretend this is love?" Harold's voice shook with rage. "I know what you did to secure this wedding." Layla's face drained of color. She tightened her grip on Asher's hand. "What are you talking about?" she shot back, her voice trembling but sharp. Harold sneered. "Don't play innocent, Layla. You made a deal. Behind everyone's backs. You think no one would find out?" Gasps spread through the crowd. Phones clicked on, capturing every word. Asher's head whipped toward her, confusion etched into his face. "Layla?" he demanded, pulling his hand from hers. "What deal is he talking about?" I don't know," Layla stammered, her eyes flicking desperately toward Jordan, who remained motionless in the front row. Jordan's silence was deafening. He sat like a judge watching a trial, his lips pressed into a thin line, eyes cold and unreadable. Spencer James finally stepped forward, breaking the tension. His voice boomed through the church, low but furious. "Enough. Harold, you don't get to destroy her wedding just to air out your family's business." Harold turned on him, his eyes narrowing. "Oh, Spencer, if you only knew what she's been hiding from you too." The words hung heavy, slicing the air. Spencer's jaw tightened. He turned to Layla, his eyes burning. "Is that true? What's he talking about?" Layla swallowed hard, forcing steel into her voice. "Don't listen to him. He's trying to ruin this day for Asher. He's bitter, he always has been." But Spencer didn't back down. He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. You didn't just betray Jordan, did you? You betrayed all of us." Layla's eyes brimmed with tears. Her lips parted, but before she could speak, a loud ping echoed through the hall. Then another. One by one, guests pulled out their phones. Murmurs rippled. A video was spreading like wildfire across the room. The screen above the altar, meant for the slideshow of Layla and Asher's love story, suddenly flickered. The video played for all to see. There, in grainy but undeniable clarity, was Layla locked in a passionate kiss with Spencer James. The crowd erupted. Some gasped, some screamed, others laughed in disbelief. Asher's face went pale, his fists clenching. Spencer froze, guilt flooding his features. Layla's eyes widened in horror. And in the front row, Jordan Baker leaned back in his seat, his lips curling into a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Cliffhanger Asher spun toward Layla, voice breaking. "Tell me this isn't real." The wedding reception was supposed to be a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers, white roses spilling across the tables, champagne glasses waiting to be filled. Instead, it felt like a crime scene. The video still played on loops across guests, phones, whispers spreading faster than wildfire. Every pair of eyes in the room was on Layla Keating and Spencer James. "Asher, please," Layla began, her voice cracking. But Asher Adams yanked his arm from her grasp, his face twisted in humiliation. "Please, please what, Layla? You lied to me. You kissed him, my friend, Jordan's friend." His voice broke on the last word, filled with rage and heartbreak. The crowd gasped again. A woman at one of the tables whispered loudly, "She was never going to marry him for love. Everyone knows her heart was with Spencer." Spencer's fists clenched. He stepped forward, his tone low but firm. "It wasn't what it looked like. It was a mistake, a moment." "A mistake?" Asher snapped, his voice rising. "That video doesn't look like a mistake, Spencer. It looks like betrayal." Layla's tears spilled now, streaking her makeup. "It didn't mean anything, Asher, I swear. It was before we were serious, but Spencer didn't deny it." His silence spoke louder than words. The room erupted in chaos, shouting, accusations, people pulling out their phones to text, record, share. What was meant to be the happiest night of Layla's life had become Beverly Hills' most scandalous spectacle. And through it all, Jordan Baker stood. He rose slowly from his seat, smoothing the front of his suit jacket. His calmness was more terrifying than Asher's rage or Layla's tears. Every eye turned to him, the silence growing heavy as he walked toward the front. "Do you all really want to know what this is about?" Jordan's voice cut through the noise, low but commanding. "You think this is about love?" He turned, staring straight at Layla, then Spencer, then Asher. "It's not." Layla's lips trembled. "Jordan, don't." Jordan's eyes burned into hers, but his tone stayed calm, almost cruel in its steadiness. "This is about truth." Gasps spread again. People leaned in. The DJ, confused and panicked, tried to restart the music, but Jordan stepped onto the stage, grabbing the microphone from the stand. The feedback screeched before his voice thundered through the speakers. "You've all seen the video, you've seen the lies. But that's just the beginning. There's more. So much more." He paused, scanning the room, locking eyes with each person as if he were the judge and they were all on trial. Grace James whispered urgently to Laura Baker, "Stop him before he destroys everything." But Jordan shook his head, cutting them off. "If you think a kiss was the biggest secret here," his lips curled into a cold smile, "then you're about to learn the truth, every single one of you." The crowd fell silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air like a storm ready to break. Cliffhanger Jordan raised the mic, his voice dropping into a deadly calm. "Tonight I'm exposing all of you." The reception hall went silent, the kind of silence that comes before a storm. Crystal glasses stood untouched, the scent of roses hung heavy, and all eyes fixed on Jordan Baker as he gripped the microphone. He stood tall, steady, his voice sharp and cold. "You all think tonight is about a wedding, about love, but let's be honest, love died a long time ago in this room. What we're really here for is the truth." A nervous laugh echoed from somewhere in the crowd, but no one else moved. Jordan's gaze cut first to Spencer James. "You, Spencer, my so-called brother. You preached loyalty, honesty. But what did you give me in return? A knife in the back. You kissed the same girl who swore she loved me, and then you stood there like a coward, too afraid to admit it, until the whole world saw." Spencer clenched his fists, his jaw tight. "Jordan, stop!" "No," Jordan snapped. "You don't get to stop me, not tonight." The crowd murmured louder. Phones rose higher, recording every word. Jordan turned his glare to Layla Keating. "And you broke me once when you left me. Then you made sure the wound stayed open every time you lied, every time you played us all. You want to play the innocent bride? Tell them, Layla. Tell them what you offered to Harold Adams to make this wedding possible." Lila's face drained of blood. "Jordan, please." But Jordan didn't flinch. "You sold pieces of yourself to secure this marriage? And for what? To wear a white dress in front of people who already see through you?" The whispers turned vicious. Guests leaned into each other, eager for more. Then Jordan's eyes locked on Asher Adams. "And Asher, don't stand there like a victim. You cheated on Lila years ago. You lied to her, to me, to everyone. You only came crawling back because you can't stand being second best. Not to Spencer, not to me." Asher's face flushed red. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I know exactly what I'm talking about." Jordan's voice was calm, cutting, precise. "This isn't a wedding. It's a courtroom, and every single one of you is guilty." The room erupted in gasps, some guests shouting for him to stop, others egging him on. The DJ hovered near the sound system, unsure whether to cut the mic. At the head table, Grace James rose to her feet, her voice breaking. "Jordan, enough! You're tearing people apart." But Jordan's gaze shifted suddenly, piercing through her, then landing on Laura Baker. His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper that somehow filled the entire room. "You want me to stop? Fine. But then you tell them, Mom. Tell them the truth about Dad, or I will." The crowd froze. Laura's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes widened in horror. Cliffhanger. Laura stumbled back, tears brimming. The microphone trembled in Jordan's hand as the room exploded in whispers. What truth? What happened to Billy Baker? The room seemed to tilt. Guests clutched their glasses, their conversations dying mid-sentence, as Laura Baker stumbled back from the head table, her face pale and trembling. Billy's death," she began, voice cracking like porcelain. It wasn't an accident." Gasps erupted. Layla's hand flew to her mouth. Asher froze mid-step, suspicion and fear warring in his expression. Spencer's jaw tightened, his heart hammering. And Jordan's lips curled in the faintest smirk, the one that warned of storms to come. Laura sank into a chair, shaking. Billy, he owed money. Powerful people, dangerous people. Debts he couldn't pay, and when he... Her voice broke completely. She buried her face in her hands, and sobs racked her frame. Grace James knelt beside her, whispering urgently, "Laura, what do you mean? Who did this? It's complicated. Spencer, you don't even know what you inherited when Billy died. The debts, the lies, the corruption." Laura gasped for air. "It's all yours now, whether you like it or not." Spencer's stomach dropped. His father's past had been complicated, yes, But this, inherited corruption? He felt like the ground had been ripped from beneath him. Layla's eyes darted to Jordan, desperation in her gaze. Jordan, don't let her say more. But Jordan's smirk widened. Karma's here, Layla, he said quietly, almost to himself, and it's dressed for a funeral, not a wedding. Whispers rippled through the crowd as the weight of the revelation sank in. Some shook their heads, muttering about curses and old family secrets. Others stared at Jordan with awe, knowing he had orchestrated this exposure with precision. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A collective gasp rose from the hall. The chandeliers swayed as if in warning. And then, complete darkness. Screams filled the room. Someone tripped, glasses shattered, and chaos erupted. When the lights snapped back on, the room froze in shock. Asher Adams was gone. The reception hall had transformed into a scene of panic. Guests turned toward every exit, whispering and pointing. Where did he go? Did someone take him? Is this part of the show? But Jordan stood calmly, the smirk never leaving his face. His eyes flicked to Layla. She was pale, clutching her bouquet like a lifeline. Cliffhanger. Jordan leaned close, voice low and deadly. Don't even think about pretending this isn't on you, Layla. Someone just got a taste of your consequences. The reception hall had devolved into controlled chaos. Guests pressed against one another, whispering, pointing, and searching every corner. Broken glasses glittered on the marble floor, and the scent of spilled champagne mingled with panic. "Where is he?" someone screamed from the back. "Calm down!" Layla's voice quavered, but she was powerless to stop the rising hysteria. Her eyes darted around, looking for Asher Adams. But he was gone. Spencer James clenched his fists, pacing near the dessert table. "This isn't funny, Layla. Where's Asher?" Layla's lips trembled. I don't know. I don't know where he went." Jordan Baker's expression was unreadable, but his eyes narrowed as he scanned the crowd. He didn't panic. He never did. Yet beneath that calm exterior, suspicion coiled like a snake. "Something's off," he muttered, almost to himself. "This isn't random." Olivia Baker, arriving late with a flurry of concern, pushed her way to the front. Her eyes blazed as she glared at Layla. "If Asher doesn't come back alive, this is on you." Layla flinched under the weight of the accusation. I didn't. He just disappeared." Spencer stepped between them, glaring at Olivia. "She's telling the truth. We don't know where he is." But the tension didn't ease. Phones continued to ping with texts and photos of the scene. Rumors spread like wildfire. The guests whispered theories: kidnapping, a runaway groom, or something far more sinister. And then, something gleamed in the corner of the parking lot. Jordan's eyes caught it first, a blood-stained cufflink lying among the crushed petals and confetti. His pulse quickened. He knelt, picking it up carefully, inspecting it. The initials engraved on it confirmed it belonged to him. A chill swept through him. This wasn't just panic or coincidence, it was a message. Someone wanted to frame him. Spencer's voice trembled beside him. "Jordan, what is it? Is that yours?" Jordan's jaw tightened. "Someone's trying to make it look like I'm involved, and whoever it is, they're counting on everyone believing it." Layla pressed her hands to her mouth, staring at the cufflink in horror. The guests outside whispered nervously, the murmur growing into panic. Cliffhanger. Jordan stood, cufflink in hand, eyes scanning the crowd, his voice low and dangerous. "Someone is hiding something, and I'm going to find out who before this night ends in a body." The police arrived like storm clouds, sirens slicing through the night air. Guests clustered in tight groups, whispering and pointing fingers, their panic simmering into anger. The tension was unbearable. Detective Ramirez approached Jordan Baker first, her notebook open, eyes sharp. "Mr. Baker, we need a statement. Where were you when Mr. Adams disappeared?" Jordan's expression remained calm, almost unnervingly so. I was inside, attending the reception, same as everyone else. I didn't see him leave, but that wasn't enough. The bloodstained cufflink in the parking lot had already circulated through social media, and the whispers had reached fever pitch. A few guests muttered, "It must have been Jordan." Spencer James stood nearby, torn. His mind raced between loyalty to his best friend and the weight of public suspicion. "Jordan, tell them the truth," he urged quietly. "You have to explain." Jordan shook his head slowly. "Sometimes, being guilty is easier than telling the truth." His voice was low, but cutting, a warning wrapped in enigma. Layla sobbed, wrapping her arms around herself, her eyes darting between Jordan, Asher, and Spencer. "Jordan, please. You have to say something. They're all looking at you like you did this." Olivia Baker's face was a storm. She glared at her twin, Jordan, her hands trembling. "You can defend yourself, or you can let them burn you at the stake. Choose." But Jordan remained silent. He knew that speaking too soon would give the wrong people leverage. Let them think he was guilty. Let them squirm. Suddenly, the doors burst open. All eyes turned as Asher Adams staggered into the room, his suit torn, face pale and bloodied, but alive. He raised a shaking hand. "Layla, she tried to kill me." The room froze. Layla's mouth dropped open, horror and disbelief mingling in her wide eyes. I didn't." Asher's gaze was cold, unwavering. "Don't lie to me. You planned it, Layla. And now, everyone needs to know." The murmurs escalated into chaos. Phones whipped out, recording the scene. Guests shouting accusations, some backing away in fear, others leaning in closer to see the confrontation unfold. Jordan's smirk returned, sharper than ever, as he looked from Asher to Layla. Well, the plot thickens." Cliffhanger. Layla's scream cut through the room as she realized the full weight of Asher's revelation. "No, this can't be happening. It's not supposed to end like this." The room felt suffocating. Guests pressed against one another, their whispers sharp and accusing, the chaos from Asher's revelation still echoing through the hall. Layla Keating stood frozen near the shattered dessert table, her hands shaking, mascara streaked across her cheeks. She tried to speak, voice trembling. I didn't." But Olivia Baker stepped forward, her eyes blazing. She held a folder in her hands, thick with documents and photographs. "Don't even start, Layla. We know everything. Every little lie, every manipulation, every secret you've buried over the years." Layla's eyes widened in panic. "You don't know what you're talking about." Olivia slammed the folder down on the table. Papers fanned out, revealing proof. Leaked press stories, financial records, messages, and emails showing Layla had orchestrated scandals, spread false rumors, and maneuvered people like chess pieces to gain power and control. The crowd leaned in, gasps and murmurs filling the space. Layla's perfectly constructed facade cracked. "Your wedding wasn't about love," Olivia continued, her voice cutting through the din. "It was a power grab. Every move, every smile, every lie, it was calculated." Spencer's jaw dropped. "I can't believe this," he muttered, his eyes darting between Layla and the evidence. Asher's gaze was cold and unrelenting. "All this time she played us. And for what? To look perfect for everyone else?" Layla's hands flew to her face. "No, you don't understand. This wasn't supposed to happen." Jordan stepped closer, eyes fixed on Layla, his expression deadly calm. "You think you won?" he asked, voice soft but lethal. "Checkmate hasn't even come yet." Layla froze, every nerve screaming as Jordan's words sank in. For the first time, she realized she was trapped in the web she had spun, and the players she had manipulated were now turning against her. The guests watched in tense silence, waiting for the next move. The room felt like a pressure cooker ready to explode. Cliffhanger. Layla leaned close to Jordan, her whisper cold and venomous. You think this is over, but you have no idea what I'm capable of next." The room had become a war zone of whispers, accusations, and shattered trust. Guests who had once clinked champagne glasses now eyed each other like adversaries, afraid the next secret would be aimed at them. Jordan Baker paced near the front, his jaw tight, eyes scanning for the next betrayal to surface. He thought he had exposed everyone, but he hadn't seen this coming. Olivia Baker's voice cut through the tense hum. "Jordan, we need to talk. Now." He stopped, wary. "What is it, Olivia?" She held up a stack of papers, her face pale but determined. "It's about you, about what you did to protect Spencer years ago. You forged documents. You hid the truth to shield him. You lied." Jordan froze, a flicker of guilt crossing his features. He had done it to protect Spencer, to preserve family stability, but now it had come back to bite him. Spencer's eyes widened in shock. "What? Jordan, you lied to me." "I didn't lie to hurt you," Jordan admitted quietly, his voice heavy. "I did it to keep you safe. I didn't think it would destroy everything now." Laura Baker's hands flew to her mouth. "Jordan, how could you? This is exactly why we're falling apart." The room erupted into chaos. Friends and family shouted at one another, alliances shattered, and the air crackled with tension. Layla, seizing the moment, smirked, her control over the chaos only growing. And then she dropped the ultimate bombshell. "I'm pregnant!" Gasps swept across the room. Spencer's eyes widened, disbelief written all over his face. Asher's jaw tightened in rage and confusion. Layla's hand rested on her stomach, smirking as she let the tension twist and tighten around everyone. Jordan's gaze hardened, a mixture of fear, anger, and disbelief. "Who's the father?" he demanded, his voice low and dangerous. Layla tilted her head, a slow, teasing smile spreading across her face. "That's the part you'll all have to figure out, won't you?" The room froze. Everyone looked from Layla to Jordan to Spencer to Asher, their minds spinning with questions, suspicions, and fear. The bonds of friendship, love, and family had never felt so fragile. Cliffhanger Layla placed a hand on her stomach and whispered, "The truth is coming, but not tonight." The once elegant reception hall was in ruins. Confetti and shattered glass littered the floor. Guests hovered in small groups, whispering nervously, while Jordan Baker, Spencer James, and Asher Adams stood in a tense triangle, their eyes locked on Layla Keating. Jordan stepped forward, voice low and measured, each word dripping with controlled fury. "Layla, karma always comes back. And you're about to meet yours." Layla tilted her head, a cold smirk playing on her lips. "Then pray it doesn't come for you next, Jordan." She spat, defiance gleaming in her eyes. Spencer, torn between anger and betrayal, clenched his fists. "I can't believe I ever trusted you, Layla. You've destroyed everything." Asher's voice cut through, sharp and full of venom. "This ends tonight, one way or another." Jordan took a deep breath and addressed the crowd, his calm but commanding presence silencing the whispers. "Everyone here has played a part in the lies, the secrets, the betrayals, but it ends now. No more games." Layla's eyes narrowed. "You think you've won?" "Not think," Jordan said. "I know." Spencer turned away, unable to watch, while Asher stormed out of the room in shame, slamming the doors behind him. The remaining guests glanced nervously between the two, unsure who would move next. Olivia Baker stepped forward, her expression a mixture of grief and fury. "This family is broken because of lies, but I promise whoever thinks they're untouchable will pay." The tension in the room snapped like a live wire. Layla's smirk faltered for the first time, replaced by a flicker of fear. She clutched her stomach instinctively, and then the final twist. Layla held up an ultrasound image, her grin returning, wicked and triumphant. The room went silent. Jordan's eyes widened in shock, the weight of realization pressing down on him. He took a step back, his voice barely a whisper. "No." It can't be. Lila's smile lingered as she let the moment hang in the air, delicious and devastating. The truth, the ultimate question, was now impossible to ignore. Who is the father? Jordan or Spencer? The camera of the mind's eye froze on their faces. Jordan's stunned disbelief, Lila's victorious grin, and Spencer's silent horror. The story didn't end. It exploded, leaving everyone in the aftermath of lies, betrayals, and unanswered questions. Final cliffhanger. The last shot lingered on Layla holding the ultrasound, Jordan staring in shock, and the air thick with the tension of secrets yet to be revealed.